the airline, or you're going via an intermediary that might be leveraging an NDC, the NDC standard.
Great.
Okay, great. And Michael, how do you see it?
And Tony's spot on. It's hard to follow that, but I think you're spot on, Tony. You know, I like to distinguish between kind of the back-end technology of how whatever tool, whether that's an aggregate site. Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
Apologize.
That's okay. Whether it's an aggregate site like an orbitz.com or Expedia or others out there, and they use methodology to connect to the airline via the NDC protocol or standard, as Tony mentioned. But I like to think about it as a user. You know, how does the user get to that experience? Do they want to go via a store like an Amazon or an Expedia, or do they want to go direct to their favorite brand? And we now know more and more travelers like to go to a brand directly because they have that experience, that recognition, the awareness, and many people think that no one does it better than the brand directly. So they want to go directly to that brand to shop, to book, to ticket, to service, etc.
That's a good point, Michael. So thanks. So here comes the color of the session, right? So here we go. So Tony, I understand the concept of NDC and pulling in data, and I understand the concept of direct and using systems like New Travel. I totally understand both programs, but here's my question. In today's world that we live in, it's all about how do I get my data back at point of sale, right? How do I get it back for many reasons? Sustainability, duty of care, money, BI, all that stuff, right? So how do we get it back? So why do we keep adding layers to the process? Why aren't 56% of travelers, especially millennials and Generation Z, say, hey, I want to go direct? That's the new, right? COVID really opened up doors for different ways of booking, right? So we have this great technology out there. Why are we adding these layers in and not like when I hear NDCs on Sabre now, I'm like, oh, my head explodes because I'm like, wait a minute, that's another layer. So how do we get rid of the layers and service our customers better to get them the data and let them go direct? We have the tools in place today.
Yes and no. I think so. The going direct part is a simple, it sounds like a simple answer, but I don't think the managed travel program has ever been simple. Mm-hmm. So, you know, you and I have had this conversation many times. I know if I go to brand A supplier's website and I am recognized that I'm going to get my deal, my corporate deal. The question is though, is that the best deal of the day? And when I do that, okay, am I searching more broadly where I might be able to get something better? That's what managed travel has always been. It's always been about looking at the environment completely and then enabling the user to make the best choice based on all the information they were presented, not just in that one store. So I get it. I completely get that someone wants to go to brand A because they've got their loyalty points and they recognize the site and it's easy to book. But I can also tell you, I shop. I'll give you a great example. I just was on a leisure trip, and I went to brand A, which is my preferred carrier, 2 million miles, platinum status, but I didn't buy there because I recognized that the price was way higher than what I could get by shopping someone else who I don't have frequent flyer status with. Okay, so that's the reason why we've always been successful as OBTs, where we basically said, okay, we're going to put all the content in front of you, including all your corporate deals, and then you pick the one that works best for you with that application of the policy. So that's my only issue here is that when you go directly to a boutique, yeah, you're going to get the best deal in that boutique, but you're not necessarily going to get the best deal of the day, right?
Okay, boutique. I don't think I've ever heard Tony say that word in my entire time. I know him. I think that suits you really well as you get more mature in our business. So I like it. We both put
this is off the rack. This is
Tony and I both put button down.
It's very boutique.
Boutique is the word of the day. If you were hearing us on YouTube, please use it as many times as you can this week and see. Thank you. Okay, Michael, what do you have to say to Tony about that as the creator of the direct channel?
Well, I don't know about that. But, I mean,
Let's
Tony
go.
makes some great points, and he's not wrong in that, people like that ability to be able to compare, to shop, to cross shop multiple suppliers. And it makes sense for many, many customers. But also, going direct also makes sense because, like you said, the millennials and the younger generation like to go direct. They want to do it their way. They may already know the carrier they want to travel on because that's the best methodology. That's the best service they have that offers out of that city or city pair. They may also have very specific corporate rates with either one or two major airlines or LLCs. So if they have a very specific methodology that they want to go by and check one or two carriers, maybe going direct is the best methodology because that recognition is critically important. And I think many would agree that no one does it better than the brand.com. When I log in, they recognize me at point of login. They know my frequent flyer status. They treat me differently. They can package and provide better content, cross and upsell, ancillaries, seat assignments. It's all inclusive to my user experience, which you really can't get that well via OBTs and online booking channels. The tech hasn't really been there for them, so you kind of have a disjointed workflow. But again, if you need to shop and cross shop, yeah, go to the OBTs because it makes sense. You want to have that ability. But for those that actually prefer to go direct, that want that recognition, that want that workflow and methodology that's very seamless and it's their brand preference, you want to provide both. And to the point of data, now technologies of what we offer through Universal Connect and others, it allows you to actually log into your brand.com, your preferred brand.com, be recognized, have your corporate rates, have your policy inclusive, it's dynamic into the workflow, have your corporate card already built in without having to put a corporate card in or even having an awareness of a corporate card. It's all automatic. And then you're actually wrapped in the corporate policy, in duty of care, reporting, expense management is all inclusive. So now there's no longer this disjointedness of going direct, but not being in duty of care. Now the methodology is there, the technology is there that they can actually do that, have that choice, have that flexibility in either scenario.
Couple things. One, the word upsell. I think the airlines have done a phenomenal job of creating a retail environment where they upsell their product. Absolutely no doubt about that. And I think they've been very successful at doing that. But in a managed travel program, the concept of an upsell needs to be considered by those who are managing the travel, right? So you have to be conscious of the fact that I bought an airfare for $300. It includes certain things, but now in the checkout process, I'm going to be upsell. I'm going to be upsold, and that might not be.
Oh, but that's NDC, right, baby? So
yes,
NDC
no,
says I
I'm
can
not,
click on NDC
no,
and then I get to upsell my seat. I get to, so it's the
no,
same
what,
upsell
well,
happening on both sides.
the way I look at the NDC though is, I mean, we've got some NDC connections today where we present the bundle. So there's no upsell. What we're presenting at the point of purchase is, here's brand A, which is a standard fare. If you want to take that carrier, you're going to pay for the better seat or for checking a bag. Here's brand B, where we're taking NDC content, we're presenting the bundle. But you see the two of them together. You inherently should know that the bundle is better than this, but maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe the bundle is still more money. So that's the first point. The upsell part, I think people just need to be aware. I'm looking at it as, I'd rather, as an OBT provider, I'd rather take that content and present the bundle at the point of purchase. So there's no upsell. There's no upsell needed. It's already included. That's what my corporate client negotiated with the supplier. The second thing that I get the data part, but for years we were always worried. I'm an ex-airline guy, and I used to walk into a corporate travel manager and I had better information than they had, right? Because I had all of the data that not only on my carrier, but I had the GDS data, and it was masked a little bit, but I could see how much market share they were giving me. It scares me a little bit that if I'm going direct, that I don't necessarily know anymore exactly what the commitments are, where the market share commitment is, where it's going, how much it's been. So the data part is an after the fact. It's an after the fact situation versus
Tony, but that's not, I have to say that's not a true thing anymore in 2022. So I just want to just raise my hand. I don't want to give false information on this site. So 88% of travelers who take more than one round trip really know, for a company, know which airline they probably want to fly and which chain they want to stay in, as long as it's in the corporate policy. I get it, right? But in 2022, we have technology today to get that data back to a company at point of sale and then get that over to a hotel at point of sale, air point of sale.
Okay, at what
Okay.
cost? Is that free? Is that free to do, or does it?
I'm not saying it's free. I'm not here to do any pricing. I'm just saying, listen, if I book through a TMC or if I book through a managed program, I have to pay fee. I get it. It's worth it. I have to pay fees. I have to figure out what I'm paying for and who's managing it and how. Even if I book with New Travel, same thing, right? The idea that I'm saying is that I just want to make sure that we're all putting on equal ground that, yeah, things cost money. And it's up to a company or a traveler to decide, what their budget is and how they're going to spend the money and the experience, like you said earlier, they want to have. But you can also book direct and reduce your cost to manage fees. You can go back to your supplier and reduce your spend fees. There's so many options today. So here today, we're going to talk about NDC and direct, but data, I believe, is available at point of sale. But you know what? That's a great question. So we have one from Caroline who said she still doesn't understand what Tony said. Boutique. He said boutique. No, NDC bundle, how it's broken down in your reporting, Tony. How do you explain that when somebody buys a bundle?
Well, we don't, the reporting is basically going to say that the total cost of this trip is X. Okay.
Right.
The detail, I don't know the detail. Okay. So I'm going to say, I don't know if it's reported in detail, but I would argue back at you. How does the report get priority or get sorted when you bought your initial seat and then you got upsold? On the outbound flight, and then you got upsold again when you were going to check in on the return flight. So where does that all get reported? In the bundle, you're going to see your total airfare. The total cost of the ticket will be presented at the time of purchase. You will pay for it and you will be done. So in your reporting, it could say my United bundle. Again, I don't know how the TMCs are, let's say, flagging whether a bundle is different than an airfare, but this has been an age-old problem whereby people buy a price, and then when they report the expense, it's 30% higher because they upsold or they bought something else. That's been an age-old problem too. So I get, we can get all that data and we can pull it all in and it shows itself up on the expense report. But again, I'm advocating that if there's a bundle, then I don't need to do any of that. It's all there.
Hey, Tony,
I sold a bundle.
I mean, you're spot on with that. And I think it's important, when I talk about upsell, I don't necessarily mean upsell throughout the workflow. Having policy baked in to the workflow, that's just a leisure.com workflow, but now we can actually empower that workflow to be corporate booking tool wrapped. So when I log in, I'm recognized, I go to the shop, I see a result and I see, different fare families. I can actually see my policy baked into that workflow without any lift on the airline's part, or very light lift on the airline's part. So I can actually know that, choosing basic economy is maybe not allowed. And I don't choose that because of restrictive nature, but I can go to, standard economy or maybe one layer up. And that's also allowed in my ability based on the profile. It's built in dynamically in that workflow. So it's almost the ability for myself to cross and upsell during that process because policy's baked in without a lot of lift, without any type of user experience, manipulation. And then as I progress through that workflow, if I'm able to get a preferred seat, that can also be part of the equation in policy. Can I pay for that? Can I not? So it's baked into the workflow. It's very user friendly for the traveler. And on the back end, we get all the data back to the corporation. But moreover, we can even put this data into the workflow. Like Susan says, we can actually incorporate other data points beyond that airline to say if the median price in this market is higher or lower, maybe that actually impacts the policy.
So talk about, all right, so if you're talking about data and workflow, let's talk about the data we glean as an OBT when people are going through the booking process and when they make a selection or don't make a selection. Okay, so if I'm shopping in a boutique.
So in reference to NDC, you're talking, right?
I'm talking about any shopping.
Okay.
Right? So if I shop in and I click around, okay, no, we mine all the data and we look at where they click and we use that to enhance the user experience, right? Move the button here. But we also look to see when did they bail out? Why did they not book? Did they check the price and then leave? Did they check 3 airlines? Did they sort it a different way?
Yeah.
Did they go to all of that becomes data that we use to enhance the experience the next time they come. All right. So if I'm looking and I'm seeing that someone constantly shops brand A, when they come to my site the next time, I'm going to recommend brand A, but I'm always going to show brands B and C because the corporation asked me to do that. They asked me to show everything, or show, actually what they say is show the stuff that's in policy. And if it's $50 above policy, I'm okay. Okay. But I look back and I say, if I don't have that data, and I can go back to millennials, what millennials want is a personal experience. The more they shop on Amazon, the better Amazon gets. If they're shopping on 6 different boutique websites, you cannot get that information, okay? And then congeal it and say, oh, I can create a great user experience. They're going to get a great user experience on brand A, but if they're not booking on brand A that day, their experience is going to be different. That's why I go back to
then why have NDC in your tool? Why offer NDC if your experience is shopping, which is cool, and your experience is an algorithm that says, like Amazon, hey, Susan, you book American all the time. Here's American, that kind of thing. I don't need NDC, right?
No, NDC is, again, this comes down to an economic conversation a lot of times. Okay, the airlines, the NDC content that I pull in is not in the GDS. So they're saving their $3 segment fee. Okay. If that's the model, and I'm assuming that they're giving their corporate client a deal, right? So hey, if you shop here, you'll get a better deal because I'll put the bundle together for you. And again, what we're looking at here is the economic model. The ecosystem is being kind of challenged, right? I come through the GDS, I'm an airline, I don't like paying these fees, or I happen to agree with the airlines when they say the GDSs have not evolved to the point where they can retail properly. So that's where I'm pulling the content in. I'm using an aggregator that's put the bundle together, that's allowed me to display the bundle next to the GDS content on another carrier, right? So for me, it's quite honestly, it's a pain because I'm pulling in, I have to pull in content from multiple sources. But at the end of the day, that's the pain I'm willing to bear on behalf of my customer, because what I want to do is say, you don't have to go to their .com site because you still want to, you still want to compare to suppliers B and C, right? That's always been the value of the OBT, right? From day one, it's always been at the point of purchase, the decisions are influenced based on what people see.
And I actually agree with that, Tony. I think that is the value of the OBTs because you have that aggregation. And I'm not arguing with that. I think the flip side is if a traveler and a corporation want to enable and empower their travelers to go direct when direct makes sense because of brand recognition, brand preference, market value, the fact that they only have 1 or 2 contracts, they allow them to go direct, be exposed in the workflow to medium pricing that's dynamic. So if there's a better price in the market, maybe the policy is adjusted dynamically. We can also capture all of the analytics throughout their process of when they logged in, what the engagement was, when they abandoned, to share that with the corporation. Yeah, we're not going to necessarily change or dynamically update the UI of an airline site in the next.
Yeah, so I think I don't want to get off track here.
Sometimes that's also annoying because when you go to Amazon and they're always feeding you, sometimes you just want to go to the brand.com.
So I don't want to get off track here. This isn't an OBT versus direct conversation, guys. This is an NDC versus direct conversation, guys. What's the difference between the two of them? And if I'm an 88% traveler, millennial generation traveler, 88% of us want to go direct or have the option to go direct and want the boss to let them do that. I get the policy stuff, I get it. And we'd like to know, which is better for them to go to? Is there better for them to go to, and why? And obviously we heard today, there should be many options and that's great.
Yeah, so
there should be a multi-channel option in a company for sure. Yeah. Guys, so Carol, ask your question.
Well, I was going to say, though, if I'm a millennial, and
or
the other
Generation Z now, right? Who wants to use the smartphone?
Whatever, the next generation. When I looked at, again, when I worked at Focusrite, we did research on what people like. They were so prone to going direct and online. They had no understanding that there was a component where they could get service from somebody. I mean, that's how prone they were to go directly to use the web. They didn't even know a travel agent existed. But when they got that service from the travel agent, again, the research would suggest, wow, this is pretty cool. I can actually call somebody. And most of the time, that TMC value showed up in a disrupted.
So that's what you're saying the difference is. NDC comes along with agent support whenever they need it.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
then how do you address that, Michael, with direct?
I think it's great. And I agree that TMCs offer tremendous high touch services. I can call Betty, Mary, Tom, et cetera,
Yeah.
and get service and pass it over the fence and get updates later. No challenge there. But again, millennials, Gen Zs, current, employees that are kind of younger in age, they want to go self-serve. I go to the app. I want to, do an exchange, do a refund, do an update in the app because the apps work really, really well today.
But Tony
And
made a good point
today-
about he gets the data right away. How do you get the data back to the travel leader right away so they don't lose data, or whoever, the BIT?
Well, because it's at the point of sale, again, we're turning the airline website with a very light lift on the airline side into a corporate booking tool. So throughout the recognition of login and booking flow and booking transactions, that data is directly flowed to the corporation right away at the point of sale. There's no wait, that's real time. Any updates that incur are updated or fed to them in real time. So they're fully in sync through the entire journey.
Right, that's not just the new travel. There's other ways of doing that too, is like track
there
flow,
is.
things like that. Yeah. So
And
Carolyn,
so
what's your
there's
next
catch or miss
question?
approach, or there's dynamic.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
we addressed the GK question. What's the next question you have on your
Well,
list? for
we
this
do,
gentleman?
we have a Q from the Q&A. We have some from Bill Holgate. He says, how does indirect NDC handle continuous pricing from the airlines? I'll pose that to Tony.
Give it to me again. How does,
Sure, I'm sorry.
Use the word
The question
boutique.
was, how does indirect NDC handle continuous pricing from the airlines?
I don't know that we do yet, right? So
Okay.
I don't know that we do. So it's a limitation, right?
Mhm.
Okay.
We're not going to get this latest and greatest, okay, of
Okay.
what the airlines are doing on their own websites through the PSS.
Yeah, it's a great
Okay.
question from Bill. And I think that's one of the benefits of direct because you're going right to the source. You're going directly. You're not going through a lot of middle players in the equation. So that makes it dynamic. It makes it real time. It makes it actually very green as well because we're leveraging technology directly as opposed to going through a lot of other, technology stacks, energy that takes those things to exist. Going direct is just direct. It's real time. It's dynamic. It's going right to the source. And it's allowing that traveler to connect directly with their preferred supplier whenever they want.
Okay, we did have a couple of questions. I know we're coming up actually on our time, believe it or not, because it went by so fast.
I love this. I love this. I'm gonna go buy you guys some flowers.
Okay,
I
so
love
I'm
this.
gonna try to make these pretty quick here. Okay, so all right, from Carol McDowell, she asked about the NDC bundle, which I think we talked about. She
So-
said,
I see her
Yeah.
question and I see her
You do.
comment.
They see the questions, right? You
Yeah,
guys
I
Okay,
see
think
them? Yeah.
what I would say to Carol is we show a bundle as the total fare. The
Right.
bundle has a unique fare code. So
Mhm.
I would assume that the travel management company can create the unique fare code and then report on that and just say, this bundle is seat, includes a seat, right? Or includes a bag, right? So I think that's probably the way it ended up in reporting. We show the fare. It's a unique fare. It's a unique fare code. So just like you'd get 10% off on an economy fare, this would be 10% off on an economy plus a bag plus a better seat. That's the bundle. It would be coded differently, right?
Yeah.
So I think
And I
in the
think it's
reporting,
very similar when you go direct. When I go direct to book a ticket on American, for instance, it says here, do you want to do the seat here, but it comes out as one fare. So it's similar that you bundle it there, you bundle it here. So we have about 4 minutes left and we just need to wrap up. So what I heard today, thank you both so much. You really, really answered some questions for me, Tony, and NDC. I also see new value for TMCs, no matter how people book post travel. So that's great. I hear you both can get the data back at point of sale, if I'm not correct, point of booking to a travel leader that needs to have it, which is great. So that's awesome. And I also hear that, hey, we have choices today. We have options we didn't have 3 years ago, 4 years ago, 5 years ago. Two great companies on this call who provide those options. So thank you both. I love both your companies. And I'm really excited that this conversation is taking place because so many people don't know the difference. And you really opened up the world to what that difference is and what the similarities are, right? I think it's important to understand that some of the stuff is equally safe and equally sound, right? It's not this big scary thing on one side and scary thing on the other. No, it's all there, it's all available, and there's many companies who can service both of these options altogether. So, hey, Carolyn, I'm going to let you take us out, but I thank you very
one thing
much.
before we go, I'd also
Sure.
like to say that the similarities between Michael and I's haircut and facial hair.
Yeah. You know
That's
what? I
what-
didn't
good.
even realize that. But we're
He's
gonna have
making
something
enough, but if-
exciting
Michael, if
next
you
month
move-
that
if
we
you
didn't have
move-
this month.
Michael, you move that way, move
This
the
way?
other door. You say separated at birth. Look at that.
Right,
Tony's gonna have to share the
No.
story of how he hurt his hand in Disney World, but that's another time. And I'm gonna say boutique 5 times today, so.
Right, boutique, right. Thank you all for joining us today. We do have another session coming up in April, but I do want to say thank you to Michael and Tony for helping us today and being panelists and helping debunk or demystify NDC and direct. And hopefully we'll have a better understanding. We simplified this topic down.
I just want to
next-
say that our next session, go ahead, tell them.
Yeah, our next session is in April. And so we'll have Bernadette be speaking against Megan, and we're going to be talking about digital payments versus corporate cards. Huge topic. Own the
Two
payment, own the
women, two
program.
women.
Yeah, Susan, own the payment, own the program, right?
That's good.
So that's right. So we're really excited about this. Really excited to have this in April. It's April 19th. We'll be sending some notice out for registration, et cetera. So be on the lookout for that. But yeah, we're super excited
These
about
are
that.
brilliant women. Send us your questions, give us your feedback. We
Yes.
love you, Michael. We love you, Tony.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Thank you,
Appreciate
guys.
it.
Thank you guys. Thank you
All
for
right.
joining.